But yeah, we did have something I wanted to share with people, Nora, because as you know, and as our viewers know, we've been doing a lot of investigative journalism about October 7th at the Electronic Intifada. For example, we were the first publication in the English language to fully translate and publish the interview of Yasmin Porat, the Israeli survivor who testified about how it was Israeli tank shells in kibbutz Be'eri that killed her partner and other Israeli civilians there, and not Hamas fighters. And of course, that interview went viral, and we've done so much reporting. Last week, of course, we did the debunking of the New York Times' so-called investigation into Israel's mass rape claims, and even since that live stream, that New York Times report has fallen apart even more. Yeah. So all this investigative journalism we're doing, Nora, myself and all our colleagues at the Electronic Intifada, has attracted attention from some big name media.
Tell us more.
Yeah, we got an email from none other than the Washington Post, which wants to write an article about the Electronic Intifada. Can you believe it?
I mean, that's. I'm assuming that's a good thing. We're getting the recognition that we deserve from the corporate media, right?
Well, perhaps. So we got an email from Elizabeth Dwoskin, who covers social media for the Washington Post, and she wrote to me saying, I cover social media for the Washington Post, and I'm writing a piece about efforts to minimize or misdirect information about the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel. As part of this piece, I'm noting various headlines on your service that point to evidence of Israeli deaths being caused by the Israeli army. I'm also noting that many people I've spoken to who believe that the IDF was responsible for October 7 cite the work of Electronic Intifada. Then she asks a question about one of our articles that I'll come back to in a second. Yeah. But then she asks this question: do you believe that Hamas was behind the October 7 attacks, as is well documented? Why does your publication claim otherwise, as noted above? We describe the Electronic Intifada as a far-left publication that is focused on Palestine and has an anti-Israel bent. We'd appreciate your comment in the story. So you can see a very impartial reporter there. And I challenge anyone watching or anywhere to find where we have ever said that Hamas did not launch an offensive on October 7th. I mean, it's just ridiculous what she's implying there. But how does she get to this? She picks on one story we wrote. It's actually a story by Asa Winstanley, who is, of course, right with us here. And this was a story that you wrote, Asa, in November. There it is on the screen. The evidence Israel killed its own citizens on 7 October. And Asa, this was an article that compiled all of the solid evidence, including Yasmin Porat's interview, which we had published earlier, and the other reports and other pieces of evidence that had come out up to that point, showing clearly, not that, I mean, just to be clear, Asa, you don't say in that article that Hamas didn't launch an offensive on Israel's military bases and settlements on October 7th, right? You don't say that.
Yeah, I mean, I found that quite striking, rereading that email from Elizabeth Dwoskin there. I mean, it really suggests that she hasn't read the article, but beyond perhaps the headline, because further down the article, I describe it as, I mention Yasmin Porat was a survivor of kibbutz, quoting, survivor of kibbutz Be'eri, one of dozens of Israeli settlements along the frontier with Gaza. that Palestinian fighters assaulted on the 7th of October. I describe it as an assault by the Palestinian resistance led by Hamas. Like there's no, so for her to say that is
so she's
untrue.
lying about what's in your article. She's claiming
she's either lying or she hasn't read it, which I'm not sure which one is worse, to be honest.
Well,
with you.
I mean, I think she must have read it, because I think what happened is she said that, lots and lots of people who are saying that the Israeli army killed its own people on October 7th are citing the electronic intifada or sharing our stories, which is fantastic. Right. It's great to have that confirmation from the Washington Post that our work is reaching far and wide. But I suspect that, she and her colleagues at the Washington Post have had a very frustrating time over the last few weeks, going through all our articles, clicking on all the links, hoping to find an error, hoping to find a mistranslation, and then saying, dang, there they go again, being accurate. Oh, their translation, 100% correct again. We can't find anything wrong with these people's reporting, but we've been assigned this job of representing them as crazy far-left conspiracy theorists who are saying that Hamas didn't launch an offensive on October 7th. So it's just incredible to me.
Yeah. I mean, this is.
But that was the email she wrote to us. Yeah.
And Ali, you replied to her and put it up on Twitter, right?
I did. I sent a reply. I think we can show it on the screen. I don't know if you want me to read the whole thing, but I know that some people are listening and that type is very small. So maybe I'll just read a little bit of it to give people a sense of it.
Great.
And I said, dear Ms. Dwoskin, it would appear that the reach and success of the electronic intifada in debunking and exposing the kind of pro-Israel propaganda routinely published by the Washington Post is now causing enough worry that you have been assigned to do a hit piece in which labels such as far left and anti-Israel will be deployed in order to try to misdirect your readers from our careful factual reporting. I suggested also that more accurate labels for our publication might be pro-fact, pro-Palestinian rights, pro-international law, and anti-genocide. But because the Washington Post is unable to poke holes in our reporting, they have to rely on these dog whistles and labels like far left or anti-Israel, just because they cannot show to their readers that we're actually wrong. And I did point out that we were the first publication to fully translate the interviews of Yasmin Porat, and we revealed that, and who revealed, Yasmin Porat revealed that it was Israeli tank fire, not Hamas, which killed her partner and other Israeli civilians there. And I noted that the Washington Post has completely neglected and ignored that story.
Mm-hmm.
And I also said that we're very happy to see a wide and growing audience for what we do, careful factual reporting, and that this is causing worry to the Washington Post. And I said we would continue to do our factual reporting, and I have no doubt she would continue to do her smears and propaganda on behalf of supporters of genocide. And I did put that her email and my response up on Twitter, and it went absolutely viral. I was surprised. It's been retweeted and liked, thousands of times, and made quite a big impact. So that was quite nice to see.
And of course, EI is not the only publication that attracted the Washington Post's interest. Of course, the Grayzone as well got a similar query.
Yeah, they did. And actually, before we go to that, let's just say a little bit more about Elizabeth Dwoskin, because I think that will provide us a bit of context with that. Because when we got this email, we looked into her, and she is the Silicon Valley correspondent of the Washington Post. It all sounds very, very wholesome. But Tamara, can you show the second tweet in my thread? that the original post. I'm sorry if I didn't set that up with you earlier, but actually we looked back at Elizabeth Dwoskin. She was a student at Columbia University in the early 2000s. And at that time, she wrote an article for the Columbia Spectator, which is a campus publication, in which she maybe click on that second image in the tweet. Yeah, where she's talking about the Nakba in 1948, and she says that before the British swept in, there was no Palestinian nation. The territory was taken from the ailing Ottoman Empire and consisted of desert Bedouins without a sense of national identity as we know it today. So Elizabeth Dwoskin, who's been assigned to write this article about the electronic intifada, is a Nakba denier. She denies the existence of the hundreds of Palestinian cities, towns, and villages, and suggests that there was nothing there but a few so-called desert Bedouins. So she's actually an extreme right-wing Zionist, is what she reveals herself to be here. And if you look at her Washington Post author page, we can go back to that now, Tamara. And I don't know if we can scroll down to some of her articles or if that's a screenshot. But she does these propaganda pieces for the Washington Post, including one that she actually bragged that she spent 2 years on. It's a terrible article. I read it. I think it's the keep going. Oh, yeah, there it is. How Russian Disinformation. This is just an incredible piece of work that she spent 2 years on. I don't mean incredible as a compliment, but she actually, in the setup to this article, she, I don't know if you can scroll down to the first paragraphs, Tamara. She actually, yeah, that's good. The heroes in this story are these pair of Israeli spooks called Roy Burstein and Lior Chorev, who are up to no good in Africa. They, as she describes them, one is a veteran political operative and the other a former army intelligence officer who run like a political dirty tricks company, which you can hire to do political dirty tricks for you, to publish fake news and this sort of thing. And they had been hired to keep the president of Burkina Faso in power. And she paints them as like the good guys in this story. And she claims that in their work, they discovered that the people of Burkina Faso and other countries in Africa that have been throwing out French and American and other neo-colonialists were actually put up to it by Russian disinformation. So just the same way Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 election because of Vladimir Putin putting funny memes on Facebook, according to all of the American media for years. People in Africa are demanding their sovereignty, their dignity, their independence, their control over their resources because they're being manipulated by big, bad Russia. This is the person who is doing this story on us, and also, as you pointed out, the Grayzone, which is another publication that has also been focusing on debunking many of the lies about October 7th. And I wrote
may not be on the story anymore. She may have been pulled.
We don't know. I mean, she takes 2 years to write a story, so I think it's too early to tell. We'll have to wait at least 2 years to know if the story has been spiked. But I wrote back to her that email, and she did respond with one word and say received. So I know she got it. But the Grayzone took a slightly different approach. And I think we can run that video now. By the way, in the email, she did include her phone number. I of course, didn't publish her phone number, but I assume she sent it to the Grayzone too. And they decided not to write back, but they decided to call her. So we can have a look at that.
Thanks and have a Let's try one more time because you never
And
know.
this is Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate of the Grayzone.
Here we go.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. Is this Elizabeth Dvoskin?
May I ask who's calling?
Yeah, hi. It's Max Blumenthal from the Grayzone, and I'm here with my colleague Aaron Mate.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for calling.
Sure. Yeah. You wanted to
so-
talk about our factual journalism?
I did. I want to interview for my piece.
Yeah, I got an email from you accusing us of minimizing the atrocities on October 7th.
So I'm wondering if it's possible, because I'm about to be on another call, if we could schedule a time to speak Monday or Tuesday. Obviously won't run prior to that.
Well, I'd like to talk right now before we do that, because I am confused based on the language in your email. You are accusing us of minimizing atrocities on October 7th, but you're not. It doesn't seem like you're. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to do here and why it seems like you're planning to attack the investigative journalists who have helped expose a major scandal, us and Ali Abunimah, which has been confirmed even by Israeli media and by Israeli military officials like Colonel Golan Vach, in which Israel killed Israeli civilians on October 7th. There were friendly fire orders. You're attacking us instead of doing the investigation yourself on this scandal. And I'm really confused about why that is.
So I definitely want to talk through everything. I don't want you to feel attacked. I want to talk you through the points in the story. I'm of course aware that there were deaths due to friendly fire. And I've read the Israeli media reports as well, some of which you cite. And yeah, let's just.
So how are we minimizing? Just tell me now, how are we minimizing atrocities by reporting these facts?
So I'm about to be on another call and you're kind of springing on me. What I appreciate doing is scheduling a time to talk so that I can hear everything that you have to say and talk you through everything. Just the way.
The question is for you. No,
wait, Aaron, sorry, Aaron Mate has a question. It's not all I can't always get him here.
We didn't contact you. You contacted us. So we want to hear from you. What is your issue with us? How are we minimizing what happened on October 7th? If you believe that, since you wrote it, it should be easy to explain. So let's hear it.
So I appreciate you asking my question. My other call is asking me questions. My other call is starting in a minute.
When is your other call over?
I don't know. It's another interview. But I just.
I mean, no, but we really need to have trust. We need to have trust before we go any further. And I see that you have minimized the Nakba of Palestinians writing for Columbia University's paper. You describe them as just a bunch of desert Bedouins. Are you a Zionist?
You know, I'm not sure. Like,
I mean, I see you retweeting Barry Weiss, who's a major supporter of the Israeli genocide in Gaza. And I need to know, are you ideologically committed to the system of Zionism? And it's very curious that someone like that would be assigned to this story. And it's also curious to me that the Washington Post refuses to investigate the real story and hold accountable this powerful apartheid state and is instead attacking independent journalists. You are afflicting the afflicted and comforting the powerful, as the Washington Post has traditionally done. So why should we even trust you to set up some kind of call?
I mean, that is completely up to you to do so.
Are you a Zionist?
Sir, that is completely up to you to set up a call. This isn't about any personal biases, ideologies. That's not what this.
Do you support Israel's military campaign in Gaza?
Excuse me, what is it? I feel like you're interrogating me and my other
Well, you
call is starting.
You deserve to be interrogated. It's highly inappropriate that someone who seems to have such deep affection for an apartheid state committing genocide would be assigned to this story and is attacking independent journalists who produced factual journalism on a major scandal instead of holding to account the state and military responsible for that scandal. And by the way, why is the Washington Post always minimizing genocide? the attack on the Benghazi refugee camp. It was referred to as just strikes against Hamas in the Washington Post. Where is this? You're the social media reporter. Where is the report on all of the Israeli social media posts, the TikTok posts celebrating the genocide of Gaza, mocking people in Gaza for having their water and energy turned off, the Israeli soldiers in Gaza proudly committing war crimes on TikTok, broadcasting it to the world? Have you written one story about that as the social media reporter?
So feel free to send me anything, any articles or clips that you think.
Feel free to answer the question.
That you feel free to send me any articles or clips.
See, this is why nobody trusts corporate media and why they're reading Electronic Intifada and the Grayzone, because you can't even answer these questions. You can't even tell us about your own Zionism and why you're doing this hit piece.
I'm really just taken aback.
Why? I'm taken aback.
Okay, well, I apologize for being taken aback, but I feel like the next step, the natural step that anyone does when one is interviewing a story subject is, or anyone who's mentioned or has a reference in a story, is to talk the whole thing through, to schedule a time and talk it through. So that's all I'm saying.
You didn't even ask me in the email to schedule a time or talk it through.
So I apologize.
You could have sent questions.
Because I'm running late to another call. So I'll send a follow-up email to your email with suggesting some times. Does that work?
Do you still believe that Palestinians, that the people of Palestine were just desert Bedouins before Israel?
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. So that's Elizabeth Dwoskin, who's been assigned to do a hit piece on the Electronic Intifada and the Grayzone, and perhaps other independent publications too. I don't know. But, let me just say that it's very flattering that our work has become effective enough that the Washington Post, or whoever put them up to it, thinks that we need to be taken down a notch by having, and I sincerely hope the article comes out. I think that will be a laugh riot, and we would have a lot of fun with that. But also, let me say, of course, not waste the opportunity to say thank you. All of this fantastic investigative reporting and all the reporting we do that is causing such anguish at the Washington Post is thanks to our viewers and readers. And so thanks for all your support, and keep it coming.
Absolutely. Amazing.
Can I
well,
make,
thanks for that. Yeah.
before we move
go
on
ahead,
to the
yes.
next section, can I make one quick point? Yeah, just about my article. Just to note that irony, actually, that one of a key source in the article is actually the Washington Post. Tomorrow, if you scroll down to this, yes, here we go, that image. Yeah, if you could scroll up to that image, when you posted this email, her email, and your really brilliant response, Ali, online, I saw a lot of people, and Max in that clip made the point as well, that instead of doing this hit job, the Washington Post should be putting its resources into actually investigating this stuff, because the evidence is there. It wasn't just Kibbutz Be'eri and Yasmin Porat. Similar things happened all over the South, in many of these settlements, and we don't know, the full extent of it yet. And you can see this image is actually from a Washington Post video.
Right, they already have reporters there.
Kfar Aza.
Yeah.
It's all of this evidence is there in plain sight, and the mainstream media at Washington Post is choosing ideologically to ignore it.
They're pretending not to see any of it. And then they are turning on us, a small independent publication, and they're enraged because we're actually doing the work they should be doing of digging through the evidence, piecing it all together, translating the material from Hebrew, checking it once, checking it twice, checking it 3 times. They have not been able to lay a finger on our reporting.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to say, you mistranslated this, or you got this wrong, or you got that wrong. Because if they had, she would have put it to us. She would have put it in her email. This is a hit job to try to smear us. And I have to say, I'm very proud, as I said in the email, of the work we're doing, that it has caused this much anger at the semi-official mouthpiece of the United States government in Washington.
And our video, I mean, it's a point we've made before, but, you know, our viewers will be familiar enough with the Palestinian Resistance's weapons by now to know that that image that we saw in that Washington Post, in that still that I used in my article from the Washington Post video, there's no way. I mean, that looks like that is from an Israeli settlement, 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐄𝐥𝐞𝐜, Gaza village in Hebrew. And, you know, it looks like a house in Gaza that's been flattened by Israeli shelling because it was flattened with the same weapons.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ali, keep us posted on Elizabeth's reply, obviously. And with that, John. Hi, John.
Hi. Can I say that I believe October 7th was a devastating military raid that collapsed the Gaza division and captured the commanders of the division and brigade level, who will presumably free all Palestinian prisoners in jail and put Palestinians on a trajectory for statehood after being ignored for decades.
Here we go.
This is really the untold story. This is the untold story.
Yeah.
Just so we know, just so everybody's very clear about it. And I think that there'll be more time to talk more about October 7th, and we should do something. And I look forward to these human rights groups and media outlets who have tons of resources to do investigations about what happened in the south of Israel. And we welcome those investigations and would love to see them. I mean, the Washington Post spent 50 days telling us that there was a basement in Shifa Hospital. They have all their reporters right there. Why don't they go into these settlements and tell us what happened and break it down? Because what we know is that what's on camera and what's shown on video from fighters and CCTV camera footage is a devastating military raid with almost unspeakable levels of intelligence that dismantled Israel's Gaza division. So nobody's downplaying the significance of that. Nobody's accusing Israel of creating October 7th. It was created by the hands of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip under besiegement. And it was a devastating success that military historians will study for generations, if the world still exists that long.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit like, leave a comment. These engagements help us with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us to get around Silicon Valley censorship as much as possible. It does make a difference. You can also support our journalism by going to electronicintifada.net and clicking on donate now. Thank you.